Good afternoon. It's a great opportunity to connect today. We are at the Sequretek's podcast series. It's the fourth in the series, where we speak to industry veterans on evolving trends and challenges in the technology space. Good to have two industry veterans with us today. Good friends, Deepak, Jadhav, and Iyer. Pleasure to have you.
Thank you. Nice to be here. Yeah.
To introduce about Deepak, Deepak has enormous experience, right? More than 20 years in the industry, has been in fintech systems for quite a long time, and have a lot of experience in the technology and the platform space. Would like to add to what I mentioned.
So thank you for inviting us today. We just started our relationship with Sequretek, and happy to have you as one of our key partners. So I come almost 3 decades of experience on the table, mostly in BFSI, and now for past more than 10 years in Fintech. So from MX, JP Morgan to new age industry. Exciting space to be. And I'm here to share my thoughts.
Wonderful. Yeah. My second guest today is Mr. Ramaya, Chief Information Security Officer at OnePay, a seasoned professional with over 26 years of experience in the fintech, media, entertainment, healthcare sector. All-rounder here, Ram.
Yeah. So thanks for inviting us, Shirsendu. Yes. So unlike Deepak, who spent a chunk of his experience in BFSI, I've been a mixed bag. I've spent some in BFSI, then moved on to media and entertainment, and I'm back in the fintech space. And at OnePay, I take care of data governance and compliance. And so look forward to an engaging 60 minutes.
Wonderful. So, head of technology at OnePay. Tell me more about your role. What is your priority?
Okay. So when I joined in OnePay, technology was not a department by itself. It folded within another organization. And we wanted to scale at that point, right? So the internal restructuring, and I was assigned to bring in some framework, right? So in a startup ecosystem, what happens is you start to prove a point. And then after the point is proven, then you have to prove the scale. So we are in that transition mode to move from where the point has been proved to the point what we want to prove now is that we can work at scale across the fintech space. Those are the railings I'm helping build. And then Ram has been a wonderful help for us to put a governance framework, because technologists can get crazy.
No, whenever I look at a CISO, for us, cybersecurity is one term, but for a CISO, it may be 50 line items now. How you manage? What is your priority right now at OnePay?
So, to add to what Deepak said, given the environment that we are on, given that we are a startup, so we don many hats, right? So so I'll have to, the way we are is we are at a place where we are defining our framework. We are a regulated space. So there is a lot of scrutiny from regulators. There is a lot of responsibility as payment aggregators. So my job here is, one, to define the governance framework. How do we use data? How do we secure our infrastructure? How do I build the confidence, or how can I give the confidence to my clients that the data at OnePay is secure? That's the job, because we have veterans like Deepak who are guiding us on how to set up the infrastructure. So my job becomes very easy. It's more like educating, putting processes in place, educating my team, a very young team we have, uh, and ensuring, giving the confidence to our customers that the transaction is safe and the systems are resilient.
Wonderful. You mentioned about the partnership, right? With OnePay and Sequretek. And I've been working, having the opportunity to interact with you guys for the last 6 months. It's fascinating to see how both of you synergize together, right? Your thought process are saying you come from diverse backgrounds, but eventually you put your heads together, evolving a process and a framework for OnePay. What do you think the teamwork or the process that coming together is evolving as you come and working together, as it both coming from a lot of experience in the industry?
So this is a fireside chat. That's what you call it, right? So we have it every day at work. Yeah. So our job as leaders is that we have a team working. So our job is to mold the team, brainstorm ideas to see what can be done different, what is the way to go. So that is what we do. We come, we sit, we brainstorm, we have ad hoc sessions, we debate on topics, and finally I think we agree mostly. If we don't agree, then we park it, then again we revisit. That's how it's been.
Yeah. So, see, startup, the youth in the startup has raw energy.
Yeah.
I think at OnePay we have a mix of both, right? Energy and people who have seen larger organizations and the frameworks in larger organization. And the truth lies somewhere in between, right? Pragmatism between agility and confidence, right? Somewhere in between is what we have to find our home. Um, so when I try to put a context in place, it comes from a certain um, point of view, which larger system which I have seen. I have been also fortunate to be a founding member of another startup, so I know what kind of agility is required. So we debate a lot, and those debates are not always civil, to say it, but yet we debate, right? And those two debates, we figure out a middle ground, a healthy middle ground, where we all can look at a objectivity of that task on hand, and that is what we all require, right? We worked with Sequretek. I'm sure Ram is not here, but he must have seen through our processes. Decisions were not so easy. We asked a difficult question to you guys. We validated you with other members. And then I think at Sequretek, we found that there was a natural synergy, both in terms of what you were offering. You were also you also understood that we are a bootstrapped organization and not a funded organization. So every dollar we spend is with that kind of responsibility. So I think that made it, and that's how we have been with working with.
In fact, I was there when Deepak was asking your CTO pointed questions, for which there were not immediate answers. But what impressed us was that you got back to us, and the way the responses were given, we were convinced that okay, you might not know everything, but you try to get there. And that's what we want in a partner.
Wonderful. I think you nailed the point that you mentioned, and then we'll discuss it as we go ahead. Partnership is very key. Sequretek being a cybersecurity platform organization, our mantra is simplify security, and I think that transpired from what you evaluated us in your entire journey. And thanks for the opportunity to work together, and we will see in terms of how we can evolve working with you. I'm very curious to understand. Fintech is a very dynamic environment. Right? You are in the hotspot all the time, and as a startup, your founders came out with a vision. right? And you guys from the executive level are transforming the vision into execution. Tell us more about the fintech industry overall and OnePay's vision and OnePay's objective in the journey.
You want to take it first?
Take it, Sahil.
All right. So, fintech is a very broad term, right? Right from somebody who is processing payments to somebody who's making payment happen, right? And everything in between. There's lending involved, there's insurance involved, regulatory involved. So it's a very broad spectrum. When I look at most of the fintech, this is not against anybody, right? Most of the organizations are using fintech as a trading transactional organization. All they need requires a volume. And then there are true fintechs who are trying to build a legacy and evolve in the system, right? OnePay, that we believe in that, right? We want to build that ecosystem, provide as many financial services or solve as many financial services challenges which are in the industry. We started with NADC FastTag. We moved to payment space. We are looking at few more opportunities in a similar direction. And the whole idea is to provide that second set of railings to the banking ecosystem, right? Banks being a highly regulated environment, they may not have enough agility or appetite to do experiments. And that's where players like us come in, right? We try to identify those places, show them those use cases, show them that you could make meaningful business, provide that extra value to the consumer as well as to the banks. And then it's, as you rightly said, it's an ecosystem, right? We all are helping each other make this. And India is a huge opportunity. You must have seen the entire Jandhan, Aadhaar, mobile era and how the transaction has moved to the last mile. Amazing use cases to solve.
About OnePay, you touched a bit brief in terms of your vision.
Mm-hmm.
What is the short-term, medium-term, long-term vision in terms of where you're going?
Okay, so I'll just put a little disclaimer or caveat over here. My role is in terms of providing technology. So I'll provide a technologist's view and not as a business view. What we want to provide through technology is a trustable platform, right? A platform where every transaction happens with accountability. It happens, the how part of it, right? So whether the transaction is there's a confidence index attached with that where that transaction happens. So as many touch points where, and when it can happen. So it can happen anytime, and this has to happen every time, right? So we want to provide that kind of technology providers.
See, that is where the trust factor, right? Trust is not a marketing term for OnePay. So when a customer is making a transaction, he's not thinking about algorithms, he's not thinking about firewall. For him, the transaction should take place safely, smoothly, and the system should should not throw up any surprises. That's what end user is looking at. And as Deepak said, that is what we want to provide: a system that is resilient, a leadership team that is responsible. When you're going to operate at this scale, you want a system that is going to work under stress. You're processing thousands of transactions per minute. You want a system that is resilient. In the event something goes wrong, the customer should know, as I said earlier, should be confident enough that OnePay leadership is there to be transparent, to acknowledge, and to resolve it quickly and fairly.
Fair. You come from a diverse industry experience. You come from media and then came from entertainment industry to healthcare sector. Mix of highly regulated, not so much regulated. Now in the fintech, it is very highly
Completely, fully regulated.
fully regulated.
Yeah.
How much your vision on in technology move in this direction when there is a regulator who is overlooking you in every direction?
See, the last few months that I worked closely with the regulator, RBI in this case, I've understood that they don't move randomly. So their mandates are in line with how the ecosystem evolves, how the technology changes are, and the overall risk that is there. So if an entity is looking at security as a checkbox item, then they might find it challenging to be in this regulated space. But if you're looking at actually acknowledging that risk, having that discipline in place, having that accountability, then any mandate that comes in is going to be aligned with what you already are rolling out. So that won't be a challenge.
Can I add to what Ram just said, right, from a regulator's perspective? So my experience for past more than a decade now working with regulator, I think we are one of the most professional regulatory body today, and they have absolute clarity in terms of what they are expecting out of each of the entity within this financial world. Their concern is to the consumer, right? Their concern is towards the governance structure, and the concern is towards the data of this. So all in all, if I have to look at our regulator, RBI in this case, so, and this might sound old school, they are looking at sovereignty of this nation, right? From an economic perspective, they don't just want rogue players to be operating in this ecosystem. So they are like those father figures. Now, how do we behave in that environment depends upon how we as an industry evolve from this point.
The fair point. I think that's a very important point, and we briefly touched base on the trust.
Yeah.
Right. We discussed briefly. If I can expand that question, what does trust actually mean when OnePay processes thousands of transactions per second? One word, one sentence from you.
As I said, I gave you three. One is the integrity of the transaction. I think Deepak also said something similar. Second is system availability, resilient. And of course, the leadership team that is there, right? Governance structure in place. I think I would say that these three trust would mean that to OnePay.
One word.
Yes, you have a 500 rupees note with you, or any 100 rupees note. So there's a word over there. Yeah? There's a promise written on it, right? Without that promise, that currency note doesn't have any value. Our nation provides that promise that the 100 rupees will hold its value and its ground. So in many ways, it reflects on our transaction processing abilities also. The trust is explicit in the transaction, right? If it's not there, then people won't ride on our platform, right? I would trust in that way, that promise of doing it every time.
So things may go wrong, but the customers trust in the event that something does go wrong, that they trust OnePay to handle it quickly and fairly.
I think I don't know whether it's a paradox or it's a fact. When I do a transaction, I don't think about it, and we discussed it.
Yeah.
In my mind, I wanted to get the transaction done as safely as possible.
Correct.
There's a huge onus on you guys.
Absolutely.
Make it happen. Right? And deliver both, right? Both on the transaction to happen and the trust to be kept. I think it's a very important factor that we are looking at in this space.
It's a question of responsibility, right? When every player in this market wants to ensure that they don't wither the trust of the consumer who's transacting, right? Why would somebody I'll give you an example, right? at one point in this country, 16% or more than that, the financial transactions used to happen in cooperative banks. Today it is less than 5%. That vacuum has been filled in by private sector banks, and they are giving great services, right? At the same time, you look at SBI, even today it transacts more than 45% of India's banking transaction, right? So look at that from that point of view. So same government-backed entities, look at how even today SBI is available everywhere. And then there are private banks like SDFC or people like that who are bringing that trust on the table.
No, wonderful. And again, a paradox, right? As a technology guys, as a head of technology, you have certain visions in mind. When do you think you have to sacrifice your convenience for security, and when you do not?
So, okay, so so that's what I think. Yeah. So I don't think it's fair to put it as a black and white question. One way to look at it, or rather, one way one should look at it is, uh, what is it? What is the impact? What is the risk? If by doing something just because it's convenient, am I incurring a systemic risk? The impact is going to affect my entire environment, or is there going to be any regulatory consequences? If that is the case, then it's a straightforward no, because the ecosystem is more important than convenience. Again, on the other side, low risk, I don't want to over secure something which is going to irritate my user and push him towards more unsafe practices. So I don't think it's either a yes or a no. I think it's based on risk and the impact.
Absolutely. So there's no one size fit all kind of thing, right? So you would have to segmentize your portfolio, right? And the people who are transacting on your portfolio, and the merchants who are whom we serve on that. You look at them, and then you rank them, right? And it actually is a derivation. Your security apparatus is a derivation of your board's reflection of on how they want to do the business. So their governance and the risk model is what is going to derive what kind of security apparatus we are going to fit in, right? Somebody might be very old school, and I don't want any risk, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to put best in class. Somebody might have a risk appetite of burning their entire tree down, and they might want to just keep it. And that is why, going back, regulator wants to have that if you are operating, there is this zone, you have to work in that zone. You can't be just all over the place.
As the investor, I have the choice.
Absolutely.
What kind of a risk appetite I need?
Absolutely.
But as a technology provider,
Mm-hmm.
you need to ensure, like you have mentioned, the metrics.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You need to have a right mix and right.
Correct.
It's a balance.
Absolutely. So see, that's why I said, so I don't want to take a call on behalf of the board, right?
Yeah.
A board is driving us. They are telling us, look, this is what this is where I want to operate, and these are the associated risk with it, right? We can, from our experience, tell that if that set of risk is a full set, incomplete, work to do, things like that, and we can keep adding, right? Then, as a technologist, we have to also look at the cost benefit analysis part of it, right? Whether it makes sense or not. I would love to work with competitors of you who are kind of the Ferraris of the world, right? But I need to build my technology to robust, right? With a reliable partner, with at a cost point where it is effective, and yet provide that kind of. So you have to be pragmatic, right? You have to choose that. That's what my job is.
I must say, which road you drive depends on which vehicle you drive.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well said. Well said.
Yes. One very important part of your technology landscape is third-party integrations, and the payment security. Again, the security word is coming again and again in terms of that.
Of course.
It's a very important subject. How do you handle it?
So, okay. So I think modern day ecosystems are highly interconnected, right? You have your banks, you have PSPs, you have your merchants, you have your cloud service providers, name it, it's highly interconnected. So every integration that you do takes your trust boundary, if I may call it, beyond your direct oversight. So you may control your infrastructure, harden it, but you do not have a control on your vendors and your partners. So what you can do is a couple of things. One, if there's going to be integration, you don't over what is the term you say over provide or the
Over provision.
over provision. Yeah, you don't over provision. You have so you give the privileges only as what is required. You have your constant checks in place to check that what is happening there. Because if there's an event that's happening in your vendor's infrastructure, you might not have visibility, but the impact is going to be felt in your environment. And two, if there is going to be an event, you have your checks and balances in place that you can isolate that event. So those are some ways where I think we can manage your third party.
Can I provide an analogy? Or that's not an analogy rather. So one of my military trivias. So today, as we are speaking, India is trying to figure out where do they invest in the fifth gen aircrafts, right? So they are contemplating between F-35 versus the Sukhoi 57. Now, in many ways, when we get somebody in our ecosystem, we look at things like that. Now, Sukhoi 57 is not a true gen fifth generation aircraft. F-35 is. But the advantage of working with Sukhoi 57 is you can do a lot of customization at home. Okay. And you have a reliable supply chain partner. And you can operate in multiple scenarios which nobody is going to detect. Now, when you look at third-party service provider in our ecosystem, what kind of control do I have in that person's product? Will he restrict me? Would he himself restrict himself? Will he grow with me? Apart from technical questions, those are the questions we should be asking, right? If there would be somebody who's far more superior, but the vendor doesn't have a vision, then you have a problem, because you may grow but the vendor may not grow.
Third party risk management, I think it's my favorite subject.
Yeah.
And it's a very though it is widely used, known in the market, but the implementation is very critical, right? You mentioned, right? You need to have a trusted partner. Now, every partner you cannot have the trust, right? Then obviously the dynamics of the market will play out, right? From a security perspective, from a CISO's perspective, how do you think that this entire ecosystem of third-party risk, where you are engaging with multiple third-party integrations, API integrations, etc., do fall into your space of regulations?
See, one thing with third party is it's a scale, right? Some might have a dozen vendors, some might have hundreds of vendors.
You may not have the visibility of your sub-tier vendors.
So here, I think applying the same kind of scrutiny across your partners and vendors is not practical and not required. So I would say that out of your dozen vendors, 2 dozen, whatever they are, who are your critical vendors? You identify them. You apply a level of scrutiny for them. And then your low risk vendors, apply a proportional risk. that is how I would.
Absolutely, I think that's a very important point. Right? I think the word which you're looking is business impact analysis. So, which portion of your business is getting the most impacted? You need to have a trusted or somebody whom you can bet on, right?
But are you in the position to completely keep your monitoring off from a non or not so critical vendor?
You cannot. You should not. You cannot.
You shouldn't.
You shouldn't either.
Absolutely.
You never know what's if there's
Maybe
a
the
even
same skill doesn't apply.
That's what I said. The level of scrutiny that you're going to apply, you put on. You mentioned about business impact analysis. That is going to tell you who your critical players are. You apply a level of scrutiny to them. You have a control list. You have a checklist. You monitor them much more frequently. Your low risk vendors, you have to have some scrutiny. You just can't say that I will not monitor. But you apply a proportional level of.
and more than that, why you need eyes on those vendors, especially where is because you never know when they will move from that category to the next category. Business, if you're not on top of it, business might start using them for something else, right? And they will not understand that now they have entered into that zone where we need to have better controls on that, right? And that is why we need those eyes on those vendors. So you can't
The
complete.
threshold has to be defined.
Absolutely.
Irrespective of which vendor.
Absolutely.
Compliance in Indian context is being taken very seriously now.
And I'm happy about that.
And also the trust and the convenience factor, right? We have all seen on Indian roads, father and mother taking the kids to the school. Father is putting a helmet on because of
The compliance.
Regulation, yeah.
The kid is completely without the
Yes,
helmet, right?
absolutely.
No, this is convenience. You see a very thin line between the risk part of it and the compliance part of it. No, we call it as a compliance piece. The RBI guidelines versus practical vendor management. The practicality of putting a helmet on the kid's head, right? What is your thought process around it? How you want to do it? Maybe I can start with Ram. Being a CISO, he's sitting on the hot desk all the time.
No, as I said, RBI is clear, right? RBI said you can outsource the job but not the accountability, right? So you outsource it to a vendor,
So the parent is not accountable.
but you are accountable.
Yes.
So what they're looking for somebody to to take accountability for the risk. So that is where the tiering system comes. We said, right, if the vendor is critical, you monitor them that much more often. You have an exhaustive checklist. If the vendor is not so critical, you still monitor, but at a much diluted scale. But what is standard across is the word monitoring. The accountability and the responsibility is yours. You might outsource the function, but not the risk.
So one more point, right? The analogy what you use in terms of a family traveling on a motorbike, just the husband. See the cost of being non-compliant, right? Are at two extremes. If in this example, the worst case would be loss of somebody, right? And the smallest thing is that you would have to give a 50 rupees
Pay a fine,
right? Now, in between, there's nothing else, right? Now, if you go to Western countries, right, if the same thing happens on a developed country's road, your child will go to a foster care, right? So you will no longer have the child in your custody because you are dangerous. So, when you have such a vast gap in compensatory action, right? People are going to say, "Kya risk to wo hai na." And the smallest risk is what? I'll pay a quick penalty and move out, right?
So I think you have made a very important point here. Cost versus compliance. And it must be hitting you on a daily basis.
Yeah, absolutely.
In terms of what to adopt and what not to adopt.
Mm-hmm.
So the compliance burden, can I say the compliance burden?
Yeah.
Or a cost burden?
It's a cost bargain, but
Did you
ultimately
say
it
burden
is
or bargain?
Burden.
You said burden.
burden.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a cost burden, right? I agree. It's not a
So the
people-
burden here is it should not be viewed in a negative connotation. Yeah.
Yeah, but see, ultimately that's what you are loading, right? India is such a cost conscious market, right? We are always trying to shave off as much as possible, right? We don't understand the risk associated with it, right? So you even sometimes shave off the buffer which you require to capture your risk, right? So if you even shave off that buffer zone, and when compliance hit, it's going to write off your balance sheet.
So what was your question, Shirsendu? What did you want to
Because I
ask?
was saying, you wanted to put the best of the compliances in place.
Yeah.
It comes with a cost.
Yeah.
You need to put the best of the technologies in place. It comes with the best of the cost. So I'm saying between the cost and the compliance, the choice becomes difficult. Or cost versus your vision, the choice becomes difficult, right? How you balance this?
I think business has to be smart enough uh, and to add the cost of risk into the. I'll give you example in terms of how we do our regular transaction in India. Most of the service provider or product providers, if you go to any of the shop, will give you a 45 days free credit.
Yeah.
Right? Suppliers do that to the retailers. They have embedded that cost into their selling cost.
Yes.
We have to as an industry learn to embed that cost into your.
But you also have your vision, right? In terms of implementing the best of the architecture, best of the
See, if you are able to understand that cost matrix which comes with that compliance, or rather the risk associated with that, you will then take that money and apply it, right? If you know you have to be taxed for that item, right? We have to learn to do that. Every time you cannot be shaving off that. That's what my submission is. So if we are creative enough, we can embed that.
So you mean to say you wanted to bring the word bargain instead of burden?
Yeah, we should bargain. Why not? Say if trust is two-way street.
Absolutely.
It cannot be one way, right?
Yeah. Now, sticking to the point of compliance, again, the DPDP is the better question. How you are preparing yourself in this space? What's the future looking for you?
So I think this is one of the things that the regulator is pushing for very actively. I think the next 3 years, I would say, this will be one of the key focus areas of RBI. In addition to, of course, I also feel that third-party risk management, uh, data privacy, governance around AI, which is something that everybody is talking about now. Fourth could be resilience. I feel that these would be the next focus areas of the regulator. So these were all basic requirements because I've seen the trajectory shift. Regulator 2 years before said that you should have minimum XYZ things, and then they raised the bar a bit, and I've seen that happening. So what used to be good to have in terms of, let's say, a red teaming exercise, a regulator says it's good to have, you do it. You do your scans maybe. But now I feel that next couple of years, they might demand that you do a tabletop exercise, you do a live simulation. That might be the ask. Yeah.
I'll take my technologist hat out and I'll put an entrepreneur hat and look at the same problem differently. With GPDP, your ability to data monetize your data is going to get challenged. So now, as entrepreneurs and business owners, people
provided you have consent.
See, consent doesn't explicitly always give you that, right? And consent Why would I give consent for somebody to?
That's the ask. They say
See,
that you want do it,
that-
but you
see, that's a
explicitly
framework.
tell the end user that they're going
See,
to.
that's as a CISO you are saying, right? So I agree to that part. I'm saying as a business owner, right? Now you have to be, means you have to adhere to it, right?
Correct.
If you don't do it, the cost is way too high. Right?
Correct.
I can wipe off my entire balance sheet because of that. So it is going to, now is a time for new age entrepreneurs of this decade onwards, right? Or this year onward. How do you monetize data in such a market, right? Till now, whoever has constructed their empires in this industry is based on the availability of data at their disposal.
That's true.
Right.
Yeah.
Now that entire model is going to get questioned. Forget compliance.
Yeah.
It's a question of surviving in this age,
Yeah.
where you cannot monetize the data the way you have been monetizing
Up till now.
previously.
Correct.
And that is a bigger question. Compliance हम लोग कर ही लेंगे sir. And as a technologist, I'll wear my technologist hat. I can put all the bells and whistles to lock the data and ensure that the data doesn't travel where it is not supposed to travel. I can put all those bells. How are business going to realign themselves to this fact? That's a bigger question everybody has to ask.
And I'm sure you people are taking some initiative towards.
The conversations, right? We have to come up with answers to that. So yeah.
See, the requirement is not just about data privacy, right? So of course there are safeguards in place. Being PCI DSS compliant, being 27001, all gives us those tools required to protect the data. But the ask, I feel, would not just be that. It will be to take off from what Deepak said. The data, how is it being used? How is it governed across its life cycle? And all that would be the challenges for which I don't have an answer at this point in time.
Yeah. We are all trying to figure that out, right? This is a very large subject. One is just the compliance part, as which we are all discussing. We are all trying to figure out what is our role, whether we are data fiduciary, we are data processors, all those terms we are trying to figure out. Where do we sit in the,
are we a fiduciary?
So we are all trying to grapple that what it would take to enforce it. We are realigning our teams to understand its impact. All those things are done.
Awareness is also something that needs to be done, right? People are not just aware.
Yeah.
The training, we need to articulate it, we need to drill it down. And one more thing, these terms are no longer just limited to legal. Things like privacy, cyber security, are no longer limited to just legal or technology teams. They are all now board level.
From everybody, from the security guard at the front of the office to the C-suite and to the board.
So for
I
you,
still remember my discussions with Ram when I initially met him. He said that I have designed, when I came to the organization, how the entire organization looks at cybersecurity as such, right? Put the imprint of security across. I think that's one important thing. But I come back to the point that you are making, is that this Data Protection Act, I think there is a lot of discussions that needs to happen. There is a lot of clarity that needs to come out. I think industry is trying to bring in some clarity. There are a lot of organizations, but it's a challenging time.
Can I flip the question back to you? And now I put you in the. So how is Sequretek looking at this situation right now in data protection? Means they are adjacent subject, right? The cybersecurity and the security of infrastructure, and then the security of the asset under that infrastructure, right? How is cybersecurity Sequretek looking at it?
Thank you for asking this question. Today, I believe Sequretek is the organization today. Like I mentioned, we are the platform providers for cybersecurity. As and when the regulation comes in, we need to put our solutions in, or present our solution, or position our solution in such a way that it handles the technology area that you are trying to look into it. Whether it's the adoption of Security Operations Center that we have done, whether it's identity as a subject. Identity is a very important subject, and we have a platform on identity solution. I think 3 big BFSI clients in India uses our solution today. So identity is a very big space where we are putting our efforts out there. We are going to launch the privilege access management solution. Just mind it, these are all Make in India story, right? We are making the solution for you who are operating out of this country, right? And we are in the forefront, not only on technology space, but also trying to understand how the regulations that are coming out, evolving regulation. Today it's DPDPA. Something will be coming up in next 1 years. How we are trying to get ourselves in the forefront. That's the objective. That's what Sequretek, I think, differentiates itself from other players. We have launched CITEM. You have been part of that launch. Continuous threat exposure management. Again, coming back to the question of regulations, compliances. It's not a reactive effort anymore.
Absolutely.
It's a continuous process.
Absolutely.
Compliance management solution, which is part of our CITEM solution, or it can be unbundled also and be brought separately, takes care of all this regulation. The DPDP Act, the ISO Acts, the SEBI RBI regulations, everything. So with all our platforms that are available today, I think no other cybersecurity firm at an enterprise to enterprise level. We are at a B2B level, right? Where we are giving much better understanding on the subject compared to we have with both the platform and the regulations in place. We are also a certain internal vendor. We understand in terms of how the certain guidelines are implemented. The SEBI CSERF push that came through gave us a lot of inputs of onboarding a lot of clients in this space. So we are actually riding this wave of compliances, regulations that are coming, and our solution is ready.
Wonderful.
Thank you for asking this. I think one of the very important things that we are doing is ensuring that we are AI capable, AI led. And that's one important aspect. Is the elephant in the room. How AI is AI the front runner or the driver? From a security perspective, we have seen this both. It's obviously the front runner because we are differentiating ourselves, and it's the driver also. It helps us to optimize our cost structures, optimize to have better profitability or revenue projections as we go. For you, what do you think AI can do?
So, sorry, because this is a topic that
we were just debating.
So, sir, please,
Right, so we are still trying to evaluate how AI. So we all know.
So let's understand.
Okay, I'll give you my example from my
answer. Is it a front runner or a driver or both?
I don't have an answer to that. I don't have a binary answer to that. Let me say. At this point, we are trying to. I definitely know that it is going to be a differentiator.
Wonderful.
Yeah. I don't know how to tame this beast. Right. We have to still figure it out, bring it into our fold in a way that it doesn't. We understand where that beast might hurt us.
We don't want it to create more issues than what is there.
Absolutely,
right? That's very important.
Because recently this example happened at Microsoft or which place, where somebody within the organization, senior organization, seeded the LLM with proprietary information, right? So how do you put those guardrails, right, and create a model which is much more reliable? I don't think what we were talking, right? We need human in loop at critical decision, right?
Without the human in loop, the AI loop doesn't.
Exactly, right? Because end of the day, we want somebody who is responsible and accountable.
Yes.
Right? If we don't know who that person is, then you don't have a governance model. The whole model collapses, right? whom is the regulator going to ask this question? It cannot be some machine running somewhere and taking decision. And that is why I made earlier decision, made that comment. The regulator is looking at this, right? They want to protect this nation's sovereignty. Sovereignty in terms of data, in terms of how the governance decisions are made, right? So everybody is looking at it, right? People might be excited. They were excited about big data and blockchain and everything, right? And we all have seen hype curves across various technology. We are on the hype curve for AI today, but I'm sure this will become a differentiator in next 3 to 4 years if we plan ourselves. But key is to prepare ourselves now, because again, the biggest challenge is not only creating a framework, but also the seeding the LLMs with the right set of data. Training those LLMs to what your philosophy is.
Yeah. That data, how do you use that data? Governance is the key word, right? So if you ask me, it can be used to augment an intelligence that is already present. It cannot be left independently.
It's a very important question to answer. As an organization, when you are in the fintech space, in cybersecurity space, because already the organizations are claiming they have adopted it, right? They are allowing AI to forefront it. It's a difficult choice.
Yeah.
It can be an enabler, it can be a differentiator, it can be a way ahead.
As of now, it's in the Gen Z world, it's FOMO, fear of missing out.
Yes.
That's where it is right now. So fair enough. People are aggressive. People have done wonderful work, and I will not say that it's totally just. But then there are people who have just claim it, right? As of now, we are trying to discover it. That's why I said I don't have a binary answer, but I'm sure it's a differentiator that I can tell with confidence.
Wonderful. It's a very engaging discussion that we are having.
Yeah.
Now, bringing the human again to the event.
Yeah.
From your perspective, going ahead,
Mm-hmm.
as a technology evangelist, where you are looking forward in your journey in next couple of years or 3 years?
Personal or as a fintech?
From both.
So you use the word evangelist, right? So I would like to move in that space, help boards understand how to adopt technology in a better way. That's what I am looking at myself in next few years. As an organization, we are trying to build those transaction rails and the guardrails around it, so that we do scalable transactions, large scale transaction across multiple touch points, right? That's how we are looking it from an organization perspective. 30 years I have seen various cycles, right from using Vim based tools to IDs and now co-pilots helping code. We have seen all that journey. I think there are far more exciting technology which are coming in. And if we can help the investor and the board help adopt them to make that difference in market, I think I can apply my skills or experience over the last 30 years. That's where I look at myself.
Sorry, I was lost in I was lost in Deepak's answer. What do you want to know?
Your vision, like a tech evangelist. You may be a security evangelist, right? Or where you are looking for?
So I don't know. As leaders, our job is to facilitate business, no matter where we are.
From personal perspective.
So I find this very fascinating, right? Compliance, so especially coming from a non-regulated industry where I think I had a free, easy run at coming here, where there's a regulator scrutiny every minute. I think I would be happy if I can claim that I have made an entity use compliance as a structural advantage and not look at it as a cost or just a checkbox item. If I can make that change, then I think I have.
You're underplaying yourself. This man used to take care of with, anti-piracy so even a content on a reel is also a data issue. So he's underplaying what he did earlier.
Fascinating. Why I ask this question?
Mhm.
This podcast
Mhm.
will be in the digital medium, and maybe some kids, maybe my son is looking at it. I don't know whether he's seeing it or not. Your son may be looking at it right now. Your daughter may be. To the future generation, what's the message? Somebody is trying to come to this technology sector. Somebody is becoming a CISO going ahead. A kid of 14, 15 years old looking at it. What is the vision that we want to bring to them? What should they attract them to come to this area?
I think. Do you watch movies?
Absolutely.
David Fincher is one of my, and he has this philosophy that technology should not be there to impress.
Yeah.
It should be an immersive experience. So digital technology is all over the place, right? Even kids are not going to may develop or
Today there is a debate whether the kids should learn programming or they should. The debate is there. I read somewhere some of the executive CEOs said that let the kid learn coding, right? It's the best way to learn how to solve problems.
Yeah, I always end up in that debate where I keep saying it's not about coding, it's about mathematics.
Absolutely.
Right? If you understand mathematics, you can write algorithms, right? You can write formulas, you can identify patterns, and then coding becomes natural. Right? So emphasis is not to write a syntax. The emphasis is to understand logic. I think philosophy and mathematics are good subjects for youngsters to pick up, rather than chasing this technology. Because I have a son also, right? So he is into electronics, and I keep telling him that it's not about. There's a difference between a technician and an engineer, right? A technician can come and put two wires together. Engineers will decide what is the gauge of that wire which needs to be there, what kind of protection it needs to be having. It cannot be next to wires which will have an electronic interference. So that's the job of an engineer. People need to understand that part of it. So exciting place.
Because as a startup, you must be employing a lot of youngsters, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Who are trying to figure it out how to shape
Yeah,
their career.
absolutely. And there are amazing people on my floor. Some from privileged, some not from so privileged background, and yet they bring such wonderful talent on the floor, right? Just helping them structure themselves. I had privilege to have great mentors when I was growing up. So they are growing, right?
Yes, sir. We've got
Your
a very
area is very evolving, right? As a kid, we did not have the cybersecurity as a subject.
Yeah.
I didn't have. Maybe others have. So maybe you can throw some lights to the younger generation in terms of how to make a cybersecurity a career option.
Sir, it's a ever evolving landscape. What is relevant now may not be relevant tomorrow. But what may not change, as he said, is the basic founding principles. So once you have that in place, and the kids nowadays, fascinating the way they approach, because one pay we've got a very young team. So I work with people who are in their early 20s, and I think I'm communicating at one level, and the takeaway is completely different. Yeah. So sometimes I wonder what's happening. Then I realize, okay, this is how they think. So the world is theirs. They have everything to look forward to.
Yeah. And I'll defer your cybersecurity in today's world is an extension of our awareness as socially, right? When we were young, we could or we used to teach our kids, a stranger is a danger, right?
Yeah.
In this digitally connected world, cybersecurity is just a different form of it, right? Social engineering is a truth. right? People will stalk you digitally. They may not stalk you personally,
Absolutely.
right? So they need to be aware. They need to be aware about what they need to share. So it's an extension.
And I think they are.
Yeah.
The kids nowadays are way more resilient. They teach us.
Yeah.
So we have a very narrow vision growing up. They have a very wide way of looking at things. So
And why wouldn't they? They have a CISO at home.
In fact, in Sequretek also, the entire floor you can see out there is filled with youngsters.
That's true. Yeah.
So there is a different perspective altogether.
Yeah.
I think it's an evolving area, evolving subject, and we will see in terms of how we can cope up our generation. Any final thoughts before we wind up for the day?
I think this was an excellent conversation. Thank you again for inviting. What you mentioned about the other product, right? It's let's have a conversation separately on that, right?
My close to heart is identity.
Yeah.
I wanted to have a discussion.
Yeah.
Not as a technology evangelist again.
Yeah.
And figure it out how this is.
Absolutely. Well, that's one of the concern area right now across industry. How do you identify the actors within the organization, and how do you control across the landscape? We have worked but in this evolved, close connected ecosystem, how do you manage them? I think let's have a conversation offline.
Nothing. I think it's wonderful. I didn't realize that our time was up. I assumed that you would have more time, but it's so wonderful.
We have one question from Megaraj.
Yeah, Megaraj.
You might be knowing.
Yeah.
So the question is, with rising supply chain attacks and AI-driven threats, how should enterprises balance automation versus human oversight in cybersecurity, especially in a regulated sector like BFSI?
So, supply chain, right, in a BFSI segment is the vendor and the merchant ecosystem and the consumer ecosystem, right? You able to identify who are those actors in your system, right, is important, right? What was the next part of it?
He's talking about governance, right?
No, that was something else he has mentioned.
So the question again, I'll repeat.
Yeah.
With the rising supply chain attacks and AI-driven threats, how should enterprises balance automation versus human oversight in cybersecurity, especially in regulated sectors like BFSI?
Okay. So I'm just rephrasing his question, right? So AI in a supply chain would be used to either spoof or misrepresent somebody, right? Like there were incidents where somebody said that he is so and so, but it was actually somebody else, right? So spoofing or phishing kind of attacks. With AI, you can increase the number of scale. We can amount of effort which was required to find somebody's details can be outsourced to AI and collected.
See, what used to take weeks of planning can now be augmented within hours using AI.
Correct. So I think organization needs to be using, so that in one of the earlier MNCs I used to work, right, we were told never to leave social media footprint whenever you are going for any kind of meetings, right? You don't disclose information beforehand, right? So those kind of governance metrics, and these are something which as an organization we have to all build culture. We have to, just like we educate our children, we have to educate our staff that what information you are sharing digitally online, be careful with it, right?
So shift is not just in terms of technology, it is out of
Mindset also. Exactly.
That's very important.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I think supply chain is a very important area. We all agree.
Yeah.
Regulating it.
Absolutely. BFSI, last week's incident, right? If you have seen it, it came from that,
Yeah.
right? The supply chain in terms of onboarding certain individual had a broken process.
Yeah.
Right. There was another with another bank where a similar kind of thing. So supply chain is not as in goods, but whom you onboard onto your system, because they are what you rightly touched upon, a third party risk management program.
Yeah.
Whom are you onboarding onto our system?
The frameworks are very critical.
Absolutely. Oversight is even more important. Framework
Absolutely.
will provide you
Yes.
that structure, but
Yeah.
if you don't have enough eyes on it, then we have a problem.
Thank you. I think we touched upon a lot of topics today.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to connect with you.
Same
Thank
here,
you.
Shirsendu.
Thank you for having
This
us.
partnership that we will take forward.
Thank
Looking
you so
forward.
much.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
thank you.